we do have a historical kind of presence everywhere in the state, and they are always looking for answers, and their needs are huge, and they are approaching many different organizations, and that happening like whenever they see the name in Spanish, hacer means to do.
Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of the TF Cast. I'm your host, Willis Stout.
Hey, Grum here. It is April 29th. Or no, that is totally wrong. It is April 26th here in the Solarium.
And I am your host, Jacob Bases. Today we are so pleased to introduce Rodolfo, Deisy, and Ruben of HACER. They are a research and advocacy group for Hispanic people in the region. Please, if you could, Rodolfo, just let the audience know what your group is about and what you intend to do here in the southern Minnesota region.
Oh, certainly. And first and foremost, thank you for inviting us to come and talk to you and your audience. And my name is Rodolfo Gutierrez, and I am originally from Mexico, and I came here to Minnesota to study for 5 years. My goal, and that it's been 26 years ago. So I stayed here, regretting it every winter. Like every winter, I hate it. So, since 2007, working for HACER as the executive director, which I enjoy deeply. Because the HACER is an organization very singular, it's a nonprofit that was created initially as a program for clues. Back in time, it was Chicanos Latinos Unidos en Servicio, like Chicanos Latinos United in Service. Today is Comunidades Latinas Unidas en Servicio, which is Latino Communities United in Service. They wanted to create some sort of space for answering the deep questions of how we can do better if I do have these problems within the community. So they created this program to offer some options in research and evaluation, and later on in outreach, in order to create some sort of elements for the community to use in their own advocacy approaches. So that is why we are HACER, Hispanic Advocacy and Community Empowerment through Research, that in 1997 became a nonprofit. So as an independent organization first, we were hosted by the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis campus. And then we moved out from there, and we were hosted by the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits. And finally, we are ourselves in our offices, headquarters in St. Paul. Our objective is always working with the Latino communities in Minnesota and beyond. We've been holding projects, research projects that are following migrants from Texas to Minnesota and backwards. We've been following migrants going from Seattle to Maine and backwards, being all them Latinos. And obviously we focus in Minnesota in the areas where the Latino population is more dense. Obviously, Twin Cities, but recently we came to Mankato and opened an office, a space here, for us to have more proximity to the area of Mankato, where we do have a lot of concentration, but also we are connected with areas that are key, particularly whenever you think about the upcoming agricultural season. So we do have a lot of seasonal workers that are either international migrants or migrants from other states in the country, or even people living here in Minnesota that create some sort of different issues in the state. And beyond, I repeat, because we are working in Iowa and the Dakotas and Wisconsin. And we try to recognize what they do feel, what they do want, and create research approaches to have answers for them that they can use, I repeat, for themselves in creating solutions to the problems.
So what I'm gathering from that is that a lot of this research that is done actually empowers people to make changes for themselves. Like, you know, you can't make a case for yourself without being able to prove that. So how is it that you find yourself able to track these people? Do they all opt in, or how do you actually like do the boots on the ground stuff?
Well, I can start, and I guess either Ruben or Deisy are going to also add. But they are everywhere. I mean, 26 years ago when I came here to Minnesota, it was really hard to find a taco store or even a Latino grocery store.
Mm.
Today, you can see them everywhere. But since Latinos are living in Minnesota, starting in 1885, for the first time they were counted Latinos in Minnesota. They were two only, but they were Latinos.
Mhm.
So later on, big communities of Latinos start to create some sort of their own spaces. One of the first ones in West St. Paul, which is still alive today.
Mm.
But then a lot of migration, and here in the area of Mankato, there is a lot of beet fields. So in 1920s, the beet attracted a lot of people to come and working here. And then by the 40s, with the war and the programa Bracero program, a lot of Latinos came also to this area. That said, we do have a historical kind of presence everywhere in the state, and they are always looking for answers, and their needs are huge, and they are approaching many different organizations, and that happening like whenever they see the name in Spanish, hacer means to do. So then when they see the name, they are immediately linking that with something they need to, or they want to have some orientation as to what to do. And then they approach to us. But also, we are always looking for organizations who want to do something with us. So we survive with grants from foundations. We have contracts with the government of the state, but we also have partnerships with other organizations like who are working with the communities like Copal, for example, at St. Louis, or many others statewide. And that is how people are coming to us. And that's how we go to the people, trying to find out what they do need.
Mm.
And what do the two of you do in relation to the organization? We got the executive director, and what are your roles?
Ladies first.
Okay, so my name is Deisy Cañon. I am the Southern Community Outreach Coordinator. So what I do is connect with people, participate in different events where I know Latino Hispanic community is gonna participate in order to let them know what programs we have, and also to talk to them and know and learn about their specific needs. HACER has been located for many years in the St. Paul area, but we want to start reaching the South area because we know that there are a lot of Hispanic and Latino community there that is growing. And and in my case, I understand that the needs that people from the Latino Hispanic community had in the cities are different from the needs or experiences that people have here in the rural areas. So my job is not only let them know about our organization, but also talk to them and let them know what they really need or what are their specific needs in order to offer them or create the program. So for example, I have been having the experience to talk with a lot of parents that have been telling me about bullying experiences in schools. That's the reason why I started leading a project on bullying for the Latino Hispanic community here in this area. So the idea is that they also let us know what they need, because what we want through research, and this is something that I always highlight to people when I am doing outreach, is that we need to hear from them. That's the only way we can do something. If they didn't participate in our research, if they didn't let us know us what they need, it's going to be hard to find a solution. So I consider myself like a bridge, between the organization and them, and also another organizations, and trying to find founders that want to join us and make changes and maybe offer a better life and opportunities for the Latino Hispanic community here in this area.
Okay.
Well, I'm Ruben Gonzalez, and I'm working as a public health program coordinator. And for the past 2 years, we support a lot the COVID situation in the state. We're doing some vaccination clinics in the Twin Cities and the rural communities, as well supporting the testing clinics. It was a big pandemic, something that changed our life. So we support their needs for Of course, it's open for all the community. We support a lot the Latino community as well. And also hearing that needs for the Latino communities, like they don't know how to access to health resources in case they got COVID, or what kind of medication could take, And yeah, it was a big challenge for us. And we have the help of the MDH, the Minnesota Department of Health. Also, by myself, I am an HACER. We're working with the counties, and we have a project with Anoka County, trying to connect the Latino community with the resources that the county have right now. Like, they have like different resources that everybody can apply, but they don't know where to find it, this Latino community.
Mhm.
So we're working together, joining our efforts to find them and evaluate their needs for having better resources to them. Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit earlier, it was mentioned, just kind of as a segue, how long you had been operating in the St. Paul area and what some of your motivations might have been to come here. Could someone just go over what some of the impacts in that area have been and what some of the things that might be of importance that you see so far to happen in this area, and what that could mean also for the people within the Latino group and, for, just other people who live here?
Well, I can start, and maybe again, Daisy and Ruben can say something else. But yeah, first and foremost, we've been working from the beginning statewide. So the goal is to work with the entire communities, and this is something I always keep in mind because the first project I led when I joined HACER, it was an assessment of needs of the migrant community in Minnesota, and we work also in North Dakota back in time, and that is a very intensive and really consuming time work that took us all over around. I never knew about Fargo until the movie. So when the Cohen's brother movie came out, I watched it, and I had the opportunity to go to Fargo for the first time when I was started to work in Nasser, and but I learned a lot about the differences that Daisy was highlighting. There are many different communities, so with that project only, we did created a lot of knowledge on how the migrant families are coming to this state, what they are, that they are coming both legally and undocumented, and that they are coming with the entire family moving from Texas to Minnesota for the season, and that they have specific needs in education, housing, driving, all that transportation. So with the Department of Education back in time, we created some sort of program for the department to establish some ways to bring those resources to the people who are migrant or seasonal workers here. So the first impact I saw is like everybody had it when they arrived to Minnesota, that book in their hands with the information we gathered and how they could also use it on their favor. Along the time, we've been doing our different projects. I have a special bond with one that it is on education needs for Latinos in Minnesota, but based on the assets we do have as a community, because there are some projects like one in Northfield in Minnesota that still today is very successful in following up the students from the beginning in the kindergarten till they go to college, and they help people to go to college to in the area Carleton College or Sinola. But other examples that have been taking place, like here nearby in Sleepy Eye, for 2 years it was like the graduation rate went up to 80%. But after the person who was leading that project went down again to 30% graduation rates. So we tried to figure out what can be a good program to put it in place more everywhere around or generally applied. And we developed these kind of recommendations on what are the steps you need to follow to establish a successful program with Latino students. And it is in every single library in the schools in the state of Minnesota. So you can consult it and you can see what it's working or not. And I see happily that there are a couple of schools. One of them here in what is the name of the city, St. Peter, that it is working with that model and having a lot of success. And we do have some other examples. So we are impacting in so many ways with our work to the communities. And the way we work also is with the key actors. So people like peasants or meatpacking industry workers or drivers, because we've been working with trailer drivers and all that, are talking to us, and then we are developing the tools they need. And it's everywhere. And they are calling us today for more information. Now, I have to say, with the pandemic coming, HACER also was more on demand. Today, we are holding 27 different projects at once for the first time in our history. Before, it was more like slow down, take it easy. But today, 27 projects, different projects at once. So we needed to really establish our commitment with more people on board.
Yeah.
Sure. How big is your team now?
We have 18 people as staff members plus consultants, because now we need some consultants who are giving us some help. In total, we had up to 24 people. And in the past, until 2019, we were always fluctuating between 1 and 4 people working for the organization.
Dang.
Yeah.
So what changed on that? You mentioned it was a big response to the pandemic, but did it uncover new challenges, opportunities maybe for an organization like yours to have a big impact?
Yeah, certainly. And one of the main issues is like I'll say that is like we've been there all the time. Everybody's looking at us, but the needs are not that kind of urgent along that time.
Sure.
But when the pandemic comes, it's like the realization that community is there and it has special needs. So
It was
organizations
like a boom.
like a boom.
Oh, HACER is here.
Yeah. And organizations such as the Minnesota Historical Society, we didn't have the opportunity before to work with. They call us and say, can you do a research on what is happening in Lake Street, for example? And then Mankato Foundation calls, can you help us in identifying the people who's being affected by the COVID, who is Latinos, of course. So all of a sudden, that kind of questions emerge in the context of the emergency situation we were going through. And they started to call us.
Okay. Because I'm, without getting into the details, why some of this community might be left behind on certain government initiatives and other things like that, I wonder if you can speak to someone who might feel themselves left out of the conversation or unaware of what's going on, even, and wondering how they can just, on a practical level, get connected with either an organization like yours or the programs that your organization offers. Like, what changes does an individual have to make to become exposed to those sorts of things? Is it an asking? Is it a calling? Is it how are you connecting with folks?
Well, that is a very tough question. I guess we do have a singular situation here in Minnesota, well, in the entire country, with a lot of stigmas behind how you conceptualize, how you visualize to the Latino community. And those stigmas also are very heavy on the shoulders of those who are in this side of the fence. Like being Latinos for ourselves, and Ruben can also testify that, and Deisy experienced it. We come from countries where we are not Latinos. We are Mexicans, Colombians, we are Venezuelans. Then we come here and we receive the need of establishing that label because we need to identify ourselves as Latinos. When we go through that way, so we also being asked as, what is your race? And it's very tough questions we never asked in our countries. So we don't have that kind of approach ever, even for census purposes. And then when you come here, then you start seeing yourself like different from the rest of the population. Even brothers and sisters from the Black community, they do have that category there clearly identified. Either African American or whatever it is there. For our brothers and sisters from the Asian community, they are there. But Latinos, we are not fully there because we are Latinos, but also we need to be something else. And that also comes together with the fact that we are coming from a lot of different groups. Like we do have people who are coming to Cargill or to 3M or universities to work in a very high positions and very well educated. But we also have people who are working from Ecuador, literally speaking, walking all up to here because there is a big network. So that said, you cannot also see yourself like the Ecuadorian who came here like the same way as the Colombian who's working for Cargill. So you don't see that kind of difference. Yeah, or rather, you see the difference. You cannot see the compatibility with being Latinos the same way. So that is creating some sort of you put yourself apart if you are not that educated person, and you hide yourself. And then you need to change that kind of perspective and try to lose that fear, because there are, say, those options here in this country for you to not fear, even though there isn't too much to fear about. But if you start feeling less in that disadvantage, you can start creating more approaches and more ways to ask the right people. The organizations, as I'm going to say it again, COPAL, like there is in Worthington, a big organization, Unidos, Minnesota. And there are so many others like Clues who are working also in the area that can serve and approach you to the resources. But people are afraid of asking. So we are still having that stigma. And I don't know in your own experiences, you guys, if you have anything else to say. Deisy?
Yeah, I will say that, as Rodolfo was mentioning, it's really hard to put in a only category the Hispanic Latino community, and that's why it's really important to like being open to understand the difference and see the difference, because difference means richness, and the difference is when we are going to find what this person can provide me. So that's why I consider in my job it's really important to approach people and then let them know what they need. Because most of the time when we approach as a researchers, it's like we know we are gonna, like you are the object of a study, but we don't let them be part of the study. And I think that this is key here in our organization, is let people work with us in order to find a result and resolve the issue or the problem by considering the difference that we see as a Latinos, because we can see this difference. And even when we are categorized like Latinos, as Rodolfo said, I didn't think about being a Latina before I was in Colombia. I was Colombian, but I didn't think about race, or I consider myself Latina until I get here. But it's understand that every single person had a different background, different experience, but also from this experience, they had something to provide to me in order to grow as a community. And I think that this is something that it is important to emphasize here, is that like we know in this area, most of the population are white, but they can join us as an organization in order to create a better community, because we need to recognize that the Latino Hispanic community is growing in the area, and they had a lot of things to provide to the community in order to be better, So that's the idea. We want to hear the voices and also respect these voices. We don't want to know what they need. We really want to give and offer what they really need.
Okay. What sort of I was going to say integration efforts, but that's maybe the wrong word, and you can feel free to correct me there. But what sort of things, programs help an area like, I know you mentioned too, the cities being different from rural. So I'm curious kind of about this area specifically, southern Minnesota, Mankato. What sort of initiatives, things that either need to be created anew or things that already exist but just need to be better supported can really help foster the positive relationships. And like you said, becoming greater than the sum of the parts rather than diluting the experiences of a whole group, bringing them in and supporting their long-term vision with the area.
Well, I can start again, and there are different organizations who are doing different things, and I guess that is the main kind of objective or the main way to do it.
Okay.
In that sense, for example, the Department of Economic and the Employment and Economic Development, the DEED, in Minnesota, is trying to work in this area in particular. Based in Mankato, they do have a big office to identify who are these people who are working in the fields in the meatpacking industry. Myself, I'm part of the Governor's Commission on agricultural workers for the state of Minnesota. And this work is kind of bringing a lot of information for the state in general, the government, to talking about what are the main needs that these people have. So that is the first step I say is important to take. Recognize that population. Identify them where they are, look at them, how they are living right now, and try to figure out then where you are going to be channeling them to solve their needs. Second, there is a big effort coming out from the Minnesota State University in Mankato that is leading this big networking system where people are coming and talking about this. So I do work with a community that has these kind of problems who can help. And because it's a very diverse network, so you can find people representing offices of the government or different organizations that are even private initiatives that are trying to solve these problems, and they are learning about this and offering their services. So that is a very wonderful effort that it is taking place here. And this is a model. I mean, there are not many other places in Minnesota like this one that you can follow. And also the big commitment that colleges and other universities here in the area, like Southeast College and Riverland College. They are trying to engage with the Latino communities openly and creating this kind of channel of communication from there to here to distribute the information to the right organizations that can help. So I guess we need to support those kind of issues and also create a way to educate both segments of the population in this particular situation. The Latino communities on one side, that there are resources and they are there for you. You need to approach and ask for them. And the other side is like, that community is important. And it's important because, remember, in the last census, 1/4 of the growth of the population is due to the Latino communities. So it is important because the Latino communities are the youngest kind of population in the state, while the white population is growing in elders. So we are going to be in much need of professionals. We need to create that professionals coming out from our own towns, and those are going to be the Latinos. And they are very important because, say, they are Latinos and they know how to dance and they know how to cook. The tacos are delicious, so you cannot deny that. And the cultural aspect is very important. So that cultural enrichment is really important, and that's why we need to work with education in both sides.
I think it's really, I mean, I don't know where these resources actually are for, like white folks, because maybe that's half the reason why we're here, is because I think when a lot of times the media talks about these situations, they talk about a group of people coming from somewhere, and they don't talk about how much we depend on them. Like I've never seen a conversation, just like one of those like headline grabs where they're talking about immigrants, and they're saying like our economy, I don't believe it could survive. Like we wouldn't have cheap juice and fruit and all the things that like we just appreciate. A lot of them, they come from this kind of labor, and we depend on it. And I don't really see that information coming out, or the value. Like, I don't know. I don't like it when people say like illegal immigrant, because like we need those people to do the things that they do. You know, they get reclassified into something that isn't true necessarily. And I don't see where some of those resources are, or I mean, I guess maybe just the media doesn't reflect that back towards the white people who are often making the decisions. That was going towards a question. But I guess bringing this information forward, I would hope gets that information into some of those people's hands.
How do you change the narrative or maybe not how do you see the narrative of kind of what Jacob mentioned, where like a lot of what the news is focusing on certain perceived negatives around some of these like immigration challenges. It's all a very negative conversation. And how do you frame that either internally, or how do you see the narrative changing towards a more positive approach?
Well, first, I think I was mentioning before there are several stigmas in how to identify these Latino communities. But also, I guess we need to promote more knowledge about it. As if you see today the statistics about Latinos in Minnesota, over 70% of them are U.S.-born citizens. And from the remaining 28%, we do have over 60% of them transiting into the citizenship. That means they are going through the proper ways to be citizens. From the others who are immigrants working here temporarily or under student visas, the proportion of undocumented in the census is so low. It's very, very low. So that we can start changing that. I mean, most of the people who are Latinos, we are not undocumented. And then just that, I hope, can help in making less heavy the condition of being an undocumented. Because when you are undocumented and you have to deal with those stigmas that you are illegal and therefore you are wrongly here in this country, it's not helping. We are conducting a research on what it is the impact of the undocumented workers in Minnesota, in this area particularly. And we are finding very amazing stuff, because while the number might be low, a very small number, the impact is huge, because they are those agriculture people who are bringing the orange to your food, or they are bringing the corn to your table. They are doing all that job that you see daily basis on your table. So without that, you are not doing well. I mean, you need that to survive. And that is coming from brown hands, and they are doing that work. So if you can really remove that stigma that every Latino is undocumented, and see what the undocumented and documented workers here in the state are doing for our economy, for our lives and ourselves daily, I guess that's going to start changing. I remember a Chiquita Banana commercial bringing that up front in the 70s. I saw it, as I am a historian, so we work with it in my class, because I talked at the U. And there was not even was filmed here in Mankato. Yeah, curiously. And they were sitting at the table at the moment of lunch, and they were bringing all what they were going to be eating. And the dad was talking, that was made by a Mexican hand. That was made by a Honduran hand. And that was made by, I don't know, whatever. And at the end, Chiquita employs a lot of hands that are bringing the richness to your food. So that kind of commercial was banned very almost immediately. But that kind of information is important to really distribute it along the population, because that way you can understand what it is, the real impact that this community is having in your daily life. And therefore, you can start changing your narrative. Yeah. And that is important also for the other way around. I mean, you can start changing your own perception to change the narrative.
Yeah, my auntie immigrated here from Mexico, and she was a dentist down there. And when she moved here, her skills as a medical interpreter she was basically needed in the community to do it well before like all of her documentation and like actually marrying my uncle and all that went through. So I think there's another side of it where it's like it's I think just the image that someone gets when they hear an undocumented worker is only like things like that, when it can be all sorts of important roles in your community for sure.
Right.
I mean, additionally, throughout this conversation, we've talked about this area and people coming to here. And a lot of this we see through the frame of the United States economy, because that's how we talk mostly in the news. But a lot of these things end up having large impacts outside of our country or outside of America. Like, for example, Starbucks buying up all kinds of fields to grow coffee. They're offering an exorbitant sum of money to a farmer for their land, but that money dries up in a generation, and then all of the wealth is pulled out of that country, and it comes here where it stays. And there's a barrier in between that wealth and the people who enjoy it. I mean, I think that that's not a good thing, but it's also something that we don't talk about because like that cheap labor or that land that makes all of this convenience for us, it really does, it to some degree traps people behind that convenience. Like they can't come here and experience the fruits of their labor the way I get to just by birth lottery. And I guess I would like to see or know if there's any kind of information that comes to the other side, like does it go all the way back to the communities people have come from, some of this research?
Yeah, certainly. First, you made me remember one experience I did go through with an Ecuadorian farmer. He was a farmer in his own town. He came here to work as a agricultural picker here for the season. And he was telling me that he moved here because a U.S. company came to his town, took the land, and pushed them out. So he just was expelled from his own land. So he came here with all what he knew and started working here. And he was asked to use some fertilizers, machinery, and all the stuff to produce big number of products. And he said that that is not natural. So it is the way I did that in my land. It was different with my own hands and with my animals and all that. And at the end, he said now he's been asked to consume organic products. And he says, I did that in my country. When I came here, I was pushed to eat McDonald's, which I hate, he said. And now they are asking me to eat the way I was eating there in Ecuador, but I cannot afford it because organic is very expensive here. So that said is like, for example, McKnight Foundation has a program on disseminating these kind of stories. And we shared that story with McKnight, and McKnight published it in their own website. And they do have a lot of other experiences like that, like those, and just handle it to the people. And I guess whatever we've seen is that particularly foundations who are supporting us, but all other organizations are promoting our results. Recently, I was elated when I saw CDC Foundation posting a video where our work. They were talking about the work we do. Ruben was in charge of doing the outreach for this project on CDC, and we were posted there like an organization who's bringing amplifying the voices of Latinos in Minnesota. So I was really, really happy to see that. And I guess that can help in informing better the people through those channels. Because I was saying before, I talked at the University of Minnesota, and I was surprised how the education here limits a lot of, access to information, to the point in which I remember I was teaching U.S. history, and I was talking about the Seneca Falls movement in the 1900s for the rights of women and all that. And a student from Winona came and said, we never talk about that in high school. So you are teaching me the dark side of the history of the United States. And that is something real. I mean, and the school system is not necessarily highlighting those part of the difficult transit in the history of the United States. Therefore, you cannot really see other ways, like everything is okay. And what it is not okay is bad. And it's not okay if you come without documents, so you are bad. And things like that. So it is, from my perspective, a very simplified kind of version, but talks about how complicated it is to change that narrative.
It's another issue that I'm always kind of banging the drum on, of how schools and school boards are actually some of the most accessible grassroots political places, and that can be both good and bad, because a lot of people who have fairly extreme political agendas, often right wing, will make a lot of astroturfing going on, giving information to parents of things that just really aren't happening, and say like, hey, go to your school board meeting and make a lot of noise about this. We've had teachers on this show who were just harassed by these people. And what ends up in like American history, or like what's taught in our schools, is really the basis of a lot of the political education that people end up getting. And like we had some really high profile stuff happen in the last few years. I know, like what's that silly report that Trump tried, like the 1619.
Yeah.
It was just ridiculous. I don't if anyone remembers the thing. The process. What?
Yeah, I don't remember right now.
Yeah. Well, it's not around anymore. It doesn't matter. We're smarter than that here. We don't even remember what it's called.
You got it.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's cool to hear that that's what's going on. Can you, Ruben, talk a little bit maybe about the work that you did with that CDC project?
Yeah, sure. It's getting involved a little bit with COVID and dissemination of the all the pandemic stuff. We were involved of sharing information with the community about the new vaccines, the different kind of vaccine that the government have available. Every update that come from, for example, when that come up with for the children's available, the vaccines for 6 months and up, and then the long COVID, like what happened after I got COVID. And yeah, it was kind of interesting and a challenge explaining to the community in a not too much technical language to them, like they could understand better the the meaning of this COVID, to take care of them a little bit.
And I want to add, Ruben is kind of modest because he organized big events with community gatherings, and also with partnering with other organizations to deliver that information while we were also offering vaccines to the people. So he was collecting a lot of partnerships to make of these big events, and that's why we were portrayed by the CDC Foundation. And you see in that video, Ruben not only this distributing some information and testing kits to the people as we were having this vaccination event. So he organized several events in this with the support of CDC Foundation.
Yeah, so we do fair resources, health resources fairs to the Latino community, and we're doing some partnerships with, like, example, Fairview Clinic, Children's, and different kind of another clinics to offer free resources in that moment to pediatrics, health basic health checkups, blood pressure, diabetes, of course, vaccines, incentives if you get vaccines, like a big information to the Latino community. Because after working in the past 2 years in the field with the community and hear their needs, I don't know where to go if I get sick, even if I'm legal here or not. I'm scared because I don't speak Spanish. Second, I don't know where to go, and third, it's more that fair, right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I prefer to stay at home and take a Tylenol,
Mhm.
and that's it. And probably you need more and something more
Yeah.
specific, and the yeah, that kind of needs, and that's why we design and move in this section of health to all the Latino community. And yeah, we started having a lot of assistant. Actually, we have one the next 21st of May in Dakota Launch. It's in West St. Paul.
Okay.
And this information, like after you do the research, where does it get made available? Are papers published, or do you have a media outlet or anything like that, or is it just kind of sent to where it needs to go?
We have a monthly newsletter, and also we have a Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. Don't forget to follow us too, HACER. And we have our connections in different communities. Also, we connect a lot with Somali communities, Afro-Americans, Asians, and white population as well, to help us to connect with more community, to get more assistance,
Mhm.
Yeah.
And to your question, yes, we do publish the documents. We print them out if needed, but they are all available in our website at acer-mn.org. And we do have all the publications we do have available in digital format. But we also create what it is little one-page information from the projects that we distribute broadly. If you visit our office here in Mankato with Deisy, you'll see several of them there posted in the walls, but we do have them available also either digitally or printed. And we deliver the reports to the organizations who are supporting us and the organizations we are working with. And finally, we, like, not less before coming, I was having a meeting because we are going to have a conference presentation in Ohio, where we are going to be talking about a beautiful project we are conducting with children in the school. So we do all kind of ways to disseminate. Social media also is kind of a way for us to talk about these products, these publications or reports.
Mhm.
This episode is sponsored by Beers, Brats, and Bourbon. You are cordially invited to raise a glass and raise awareness of youth hunger in our communities. Join Feeding Our Communities partners at their annual Beer, Brats, and Bourbon for Backpack on Thursday, June 22nd. This casual, laid-back fundraiser features the best craft beer, bourbon tastings, grilled fare, a spirited silent auction, and live music from both B-Bomb Fields and the Tony Cuccetti Band. This unique event will be at FOCP's Backpack Central Warehouse. Tickets are on sale right now. Proceeds go directly to support FOCP's work feeding greater Mankato area youth. For more information and to purchase tickets right now, you can visit feedingandfueling.org. Listeners of the TF Cast get a special offer for $15 off the full ticket price if you use the code 15OFF at checkout. That's the number 1, the number 5, and capital OFF. See you there.
All right. As we start to get more towards the tail end of this podcast, maybe we could talk about some of the projects that we've missed so far. If you have any like specific things that are going on in the area or in the greater Minnesota area that we haven't covered, let's just go through those.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm going to talk about a couple of projects that are really important for us. And we are not only collecting the information, also helping people to learn more about it, and also needing your help, everybody's help here, and the listeners' help to recruit participants. And in particular, I want to talk about a project we are doing on informal economy for Latina entrepreneurs. We know that after COVID, a lot of women just jump in and save the economies of the families because the husband just was fired or lost a job or lost one of their jobs, and then the economy went down. And as a response, women, and particularly in the southern area of Minnesota, came up and started selling clothes or food or things like that. So we are trying to figure out how we can help them to move from informality to formality, creating pathways for them to formalize their businesses. And we are doing focus groups and interviews. So we are moving right now in the stage of looking for people to participate in our focus groups. And later on in the second phase, for them to be part of the interviews and all them coming together for the workshops we are going to be creating based on that information with local people who are going to be helping us and putting their resources in place. Like, what do you need to register your business? What it is important for you to know about bank loans? What do you need for training purposes of your management? Things like that. So it's what we need to promote. At the same time, we are doing a beautiful project on environmental justice. Sorry, and we are working with perceptions on that issue, what it is the climate change, but also how you can do some work or how can you engage on the work of saving our planet. So we are working, focusing mostly on youth, but also families in general, and we are looking for participants. We are in all our projects offering some sort of stipends or some uh, tokens of appreciation that goes from $15 gift card to $50 gift card, depending on the level of involvement from people. So that is important for us. Also, we are having with SEMSIL, which is a Southern Minnesota organization looking for support on special needs for disabilities among Latino communities. They work already in the area. They are serving particularly American communities already, but we know very little about what are the Latino needs in among disabilities. So we are trying to figure out that and identifying where they are, what do they need, and how to connect them with SEMCEL. And the last one I'm going to be talking about is the digital inclusion. Did nonetheless give us some support for us to see how the Latino community can engage more in the use of digital media in this internet, perhaps, because so many people have no connection to the internet, or perhaps equipment like a new laptop or even a cell phone or a tablet. So we need to know what it is going on. So we are conducting this other exercise and research, and it is focusing in southern Minnesota. And one created by Deisy, she talked a little bit about it, is what's going on with the bullying in the schools.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, so by being connecting with the community, I found out that this was one of the issues most parents talk about it. So as an educator as well, I got a bachelor degree in education, also master in education. So I am really interested in all the things that we can work with the schools. So I decided to lead a project on bullying. We're going to be partnering with two organizations. One of them is the Mankato Psychology Clinic, because we need health workers, how bullying can affect individuals, their mental health. So the idea is to provide parents with resources of how to navigate the system and support their kids they are facing bullying in the schools, because the schools environments are different in our countries that could be here in the United States. Again, a lot of the resources maybe they are not in Spanish, or they don't know how to navigate the system because they really didn't know. And also provide students, children with social skills that help them to handle with bullying situations that don't affect their health, their mental health. We are not going to start bullying situation. It's going to be a little hard to do it, but at least provide them skills and tools to avoid at some point that they get affected in the way that they have been affecting so far. So this is the idea of this project. It's going to have two phases. The first one is going to be focus groups. So we're going to interview parents and children to know about these bullying situations. And also we are going to provide the workshops in partnership with the two organizations in order to support parents and children in this.
Well, we have an update for the COVID. The last update from the Minnesota Department of Health is so there's gonna be only one shot since now. It could be the Pfizer bivalent. So I'm gonna give a short example. If you never take any shot, COVID shot, you will get only one. So it's the bivalent. It's the most powerful advance that we have for that protect you for the variants. And even if you have 3 shots, you could get the bivalent after the deadline is 6 months after your last shot. So we offer in our clinics $50 gift card, $50 gift card, and yeah, that's the last update for us.
Sure.
I think it was mentioned too that there was an upcoming clinic. You maybe just want to touch more on that a little bit. The upcoming one.
Sure. There's one in the Twin Cities in New Brighton. It's like a Venezuelan festival in Lions Park. It's next Saturday, 2 to 5, and there's gonna be a different kind of activities, softball tournament, and we're gonna have the vaccination clinic and basic health checkups with the Autumn Medical Group as well. Yeah.
Okay.
But also we're going to have in partnership with Copal clinic here in Mankato. And
In St. James, right?
Yeah,
St.
it's
James.
going to be
yeah.
in St. James on May 25th. We are going to be in partnership with Copal. We are going to be offering vaccines, but also we are going to be offering some resources for the other organizations. And also we are going to be talking about breast cancer screening because based on the research, a lot of women stopped doing their screening during COVID times, they don't want to go to the doctor or be around the hospital. So it's research say like it's gonna be maybe a possibility to increase the number of breast cancer patients, and so we are trying to provide these resources to women. So we're gonna be talking about breast cancer screening, and also we are gonna be in Fairmont on May 20 in the elementary school, offering vaccines and also resources.
right.
Cool.
Thank you.
Awesome to hear the impact y'all are having. This seems like glad we could learn about it and share this. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for all you do for Mankato and everywhere else around here.
Just want to do plugs. Just
Yeah.
where like if people want to find you online, like the website, the
Support,
places where
donate, volunteer, whatever you need,
all
let
that
people know where
information.
they can connect and engage.
Yeah, you did. You said donate. Please donate. That's really important. We have our website in www.hacer-mn.org. But we also are in almost all platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even TikTok, and LinkedIn, of course. And you can follow us there, and we do have a lot of information. And engagements are coming through many different other ways, like Give Minnesota has us in the website, giveminnesota.org, where you can find what we are doing, but also how you can support us. And if you want to connect with us, you have the opportunity to write to us to contact@hacer-mn.org or call us to 651-401-0011 or 651-401-0012. So both numbers are open for you to call and ask us whatever you need. And we're always willing to collaborate with you and with everyone.
Yeah, also if people here in Mankato want to connect with us, we just opened our office. Since August last year, we opened our office in Cherry Spaces. So the address is 127 2nd Street in Mankato. So you can find us there as well. And the phone number is 651-390-0730.
And there you can hear the beautiful voice of Deisy instead of mine.
Well, thank you so much. This was really cool. I was happy to learn about that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Y'all are clear.